Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 560. Holy cow, 560. If I actually had looked at the calendar, I could tell if it was Happy New Year at this point. And it is. So happy 2025. When this episode comes out, it'll be 2025. We're recording this in 2024. I'm Bryan Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by Heather Hildenbrand, from Manifest Your HEA, Manifest Your Happily Ever After, great author coach, paranormal fantasy author. Hey, how you doing, Heather?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great. We got to really talk about some fun stuff last week that I was excited about, talking about kind of expectations versus versus what we can actually get done and how we feel about all of these things. So when you described last week kind of deep diving into the literature of all of the of manifesting and healing and all this woo-woo stuff that maybe at the time didn't have as much science connected up with it.
Right.
What did it feel like when you were starting to turn a corner? Because the issue I think is, I don't think authors want to avoid this entirely. I think authors want to be healthy. They want to feel better about themselves. They want to have better results. These things are all true.
Sure.
But it takes a while to get to the point of turning the corner where it actually seems like it's doing something.
Yeah.
How did it feel for you when you personally felt like you were turning the corner and beginning to believe in yourself more?
Well, that part feels great. But I think what you might be asking is what does it feel before that, right? Before you know that it's working. And yeah, it feels terrible because you don't know that it's working. Sorry, I
Yeah.
almost made you spit out your tea, but
No.
it's
I'm trained improv comedian. I don't do spit takes, but no, I like that because it's kind of the darkness before the dawn. But how do you
yeah.
push through that crappy part? Because
Mm.
you have to do so much work. First, you're mired in crap.
Yeah.
And then you learn some of the good stuff and some of it falls away. For
Right.
those of you not watching the video, I'm doing a whole interpretive dance for this, by
Which
the
is
way.
highly accurate, I feel
Yeah,
like. So
yeah. And
continue.
so some of the crap has fallen off by virtue of learning,
Right.
but you still have all that other crap that's just locked in there that you have to work really, really hard to get out from under.
Yeah.
How do you push through that hard part when you're already tired and life is
Right.
hard? How?
Okay, so I feel like there's a lot of different answers I could give, for encouragement and pieces of my journey or whatnot. But I think that the best one to keep someone going is to make caring about yourself important. Because if you care about yourself, you are willing to do things that just make you feel better just for the sake of feeling better. You're willing to keep going because even though you don't have your $1,000,000 yet, you do feel better. And when we're in hustle culture, you're like, I don't have time for feelings. I need to make money. Who has time for feelings? And so if you can make the shift that how you feel is more important than anything else, and always be pursuing finding a way to feel good in that moment, whatever that looks like, whether it's self-care or just changing the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you think is possible and what you think you deserve, and just learning how to care about yourself. It will help you keep going even when you're like, okay, but where's the $1,000,000?
I like that as an achiever, coming at it from the achiever mindset, which I know a lot of authors who burn themselves out are high in the achiever.
Yeah.
Some advice I've given some of the achievers that I coach is well, be the best at resting, be the best at self-care. But
Yeah.
this idea of making, caring about your feelings important, it's kind of be the best at caring for your
There you
feelings.
go. Yeah.
Be like the high competition people. Be the best at caring about your feelings of all of your friends.
Yes, I love that. Yep. I also talk about, because we tend to go, I don't have time for that. So I also tell
Mm.
my coaching clients, put it on your calendar. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally schedule in whatever that thing is. I don't care if it seems not work like, if it's a walk, if it's taking a bubble bath, if it's Netflix with a cozy blanket, but put it on your calendar. Like it gets as much attention as all your work tasks. And also if I put it on my calendar, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Especially days off. Block
Right.
those off on your calendar
Right. I
so you
know. Oh my
can't
gosh.
schedule
The
it.
amount of times I have coaching clients come to me and then they're like, you'd be so proud of me. I took a day off this weekend. And I'm like, oh, you gave yourself like a basic human right? Good job. You have a long way to go. But everyone has to start somewhere. So, okay, good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I would love to see that author's face. Um, well, everyone definitely go check out manifestyourhea.com to see how Heather's coaching options, see her book, see her wonderful stuff. Um, I'm still accepting ARC readers for my very January 2025 appropriate book, The Best Version of Your Life. So go check out the sellmorebookshow.com website for the link to that. I've also emailed about it probably multiple times by this point. So check your email, folks. I'm in it. I'm there. But yeah, let's get into the top story today.
Let's do it.
Self-publishing trends to follow for 2025. What are the big trends for self-publishing in 2025? Fancy hardcover books and direct selling opportunities to continue to grow for indies going into this year. Now it's this year, according to Miblart. Direct sales are one area where indies win out, since traditionally published print books aren't cost effective for authors to sell themselves, and direct sales of ebooks and audiobooks isn't even an option for them. Quote, direct sales let authors keep more profits, build stronger reader relationships, and offer perks like exclusive content or signed books, says Miblart. When it comes to print, self-published authors are taking advantage of new technology to create short runs and special edition ebooks for their superfans. Custom chapter images can easily be created using Vellum or Atticus, and print-on-demand vendors are offering sprayed edges, colorful end pages, and wraparound dust jackets that can make your books look and feel premium and exclusive. Self-published authors might not have the big bucks behind them, but they have the advantage of being able to experiment with little risk and try tactics and technologies that publishers still won't do or can't afford to scale up. Heather, I like this story, but at the same time, I don't think every author needs to have the FOMO of sprayed edges.
I agree. I don't think we all need to do all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that comes to mind personally.
You're like, I know I'm tired.
Yeah. Well, and I know too many authors who've bought themselves into debt with their with the books that are in their house, that are piling up in their house.
Oh, yeah.
So I worry about that. But what were your feelings? Your feelings might have been very different about some of these thoughts. What were your feelings here?
Well, they are, but and I have to talk about, I'm here to talk about your beliefs. So now that I used to have that, I used to would have had that reaction, right? And that whole sense of like, we have to do all the things and I don't want to have to do that and so much and whatever. And now I have changed my beliefs to some things that really serve me in this way. So one of my beliefs is that my success is inevitable. It's so inevitable that even I can't screw it up. And it's so inevitable that it's going to happen no matter what thing I do or don't do. So now I just get to choose what sounds like fun. I get to choose what makes sense for my brand. It doesn't matter, right? And so this belief helps release me from all of the negative feelings of reading that article. I read it and went, oh my God, so much money.
Right?
So much opportunity, so much potential. And then I get excited because of that.
Yeah. And if you're excited by it, and look, there are great opportunities. One of the partners that I work with, AccuTrack, who they print the books in-house. So if they manage your TikTok shop for you, they'll just print it which
That's
is
awesome.
nice because you don't have to ship it. They print it and ship it.
Mm-hmm.
They've worked with a friend of the show, Jeffrey Mason, for his very, very successful Dad, I Want to Hear Your Story books. The Hear Your Story books that have been like top 10 on Amazon for the last 6 months, which is awesome.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to ship those books for TikTok because AccuTrack does it for you. They do offer some kind of these sprayed edges options. My biggest worry with those kind of things is always just like, if you suddenly are running a shipping company and you didn't want to be running a shipping company.
Right.
But it's nice that there are options like AccuTrack out there. I think that this idea of, if I follow my joy and I believe that success is going to happen, is so great. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that you brought that up, because I did a presentation at 20 Books a couple years ago talking about just like joy marketing. You don't have to do the things you don't want to do,
I love that. Yeah.
because you can get really good at things that you care about, and you're bound to put in more time.
Right. Well, and alternately, when we think we have to do everything, usually it's because we think we're not already doing enough, which I think we talked about in the last episode too, is that's the
Uh-huh.
number one limiting belief I see, is I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough. So trying to do more is trying to make up for, we're trying to earn it back, right? Like if I can do enough, then I'll be enough, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's really kind of figuring out where this is coming from inside of you, that you feel like compelled to do things that sort of you don't want to do, and really kind of get to the root of it.
I love that as kind of a bridge Enneagram 2-3 over here.
Yeah.
With that helper, if I give more and give more and give more, then they'll love me.
Right.
Core desire. That really resonates, of just the not feeling like enough.
Yeah.
It even happens. Look, I hit my 7-figure income this past year, and it's that belief is still there to a certain
Mm-hmm.
extent.
Yeah. So we got to get rid of the belief. The money won't get rid of it for us. We have to get rid of it.
Love it. Absolutely. manifestyourhea.com. Now, wouldn't it be funny if just like every guest host I had on here, when they said something really great, I just like said their website? manifestyourhea.com.
It's going to make a
like,
great little soundbite to like pull
ooh,
off.
yes, I know. We're going to share that far
Yeah.
and wide. I'm going to tweak these questions slightly, because they're based on what we talked about. It's a little different. So when an author sees a trend and they are excited, but they do have a feeling like the overwhelm comes in as well,
Yeah.
how do they parse, like, well, this is bringing me joy in this moment, but I
Mm-hmm.
also know I have 700 things that I haven't finished. Like,
Right.
how do they make a decision of keep this thing, dump 3 others, or what should an author consider?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really great question. And unfortunately, like the answer might be different, a little bit different for different people.
Of course,
It's
of
not a
course.
one size fits all. But like, okay, so the whole my success is inevitable, I find that helpful because I don't feel compelled to jump on a thing right away if I can't. Like, yes, I follow my joy, but also I run a business and I have made promises and deadlines and I have to meet them.
Yeah.
So, for a great example, actually, I'm living right now, I have wanted to set up my direct store for a year. I
Mm-hmm.
bought Cameron Snow's course literally last December. Like, so by the time this releases, that will be over a year ago, guys. And it sat in my inbox for a year and I didn't do it because I don't I've been saying I didn't have time, but like the truth is I didn't give time to that, right? Because I was giving
Yeah.
time to other things like coaching and my writing deadlines, and at the end of the day that made sense for me. That was living in integrity with the business I run, right? And I just said I actually won't have time until December, because December every year I take half the month off, and that's when I do like all that kind of stuff. I do courses, I build the back end, I do my admin, I get caught up. So I said all year, I was like, I'm gonna have to do it in December. And I just had to wait, even though I was so lit up about it. And so I just am finally doing it right now. So I
Yeah.
sat on it for a year, even though it's going to make me so much freaking money. But you know what? My success is inevitable. I made so much freaking money anyway. So it's like I didn't need this one thing. It wasn't like everything's riding on me getting to do this one thing. And if I can't do it, everything's ruined, you know?
I really like that. Yeah, I mean, we have space when we have space, both mentally and
Right.
hours wise.
Right.
And you were able to look ahead and see when you had it.
Yeah. And also, this is like probably necessary information. I did connect my Wix store in the meantime, which is probably considered like subpar to all these people that are like, you have to do Shopify. But I also just realized I was leaving money on the table. And with a click of a few buttons, I integrated like the free Wix store that went with my website already. And I did do direct sales throughout the year, but it wasn't like all the bells and whistles and the thing I'm building now and like all this stuff. So I found a way to just make it work with what I had and then, you know, whatever. So
I've done the same. Like I've used Thrivecart, which I used to sell courses and coaching. I've sold books on that, and it wasn't a Shopify, and it was okay, and it still counts.
It still counts. That's the thing, right? Because there was this belief or like a limit that I think other authors would have thought too, because I had these fleeting thoughts like, oh, but that's not the way everyone says to do it. And then we don't give ourselves permission to do the thing because it's not the right way or whatever. We get really caught up in doing it the way everyone else says. And it's like, what if we just gave ourselves permission to do it, to just be wherever we're at, you know?
I like that. I like that. We twisted the questions to the point I think we should go to the lightning round. So, also, I just want to hear your lightning sound attempt too over here. So feel free.
I have to do a second one, don't I?
I know. It can be the same one. It doesn't matter.
I don't even remember what it was. How about...
Oh, I like that. It's like the...
That was an electricity sound in case
the lightning caused a real problem. That's all I know. It caused a real problem. So look, you've had some really cool stuff happen in your fiction side of your career, including having a series optioned for TV. Yeah. But I'm going to ask kind of what has the expectation versus reality been like? Because I'm sure there were a lot of beliefs wrapped up in that. So what has that been like for you?
That's such a great question. No one has ever asked it that particular way. So that's and it's the right, I think, question for something like this. Because I thought I made it. You know, this was like several years ago, so it was like not as far into my career, and you know, I didn't know anything about optioning rights. I was when it happened, I was one of very few indie authors who had that happen. And so I didn't have a lot to go on, and I thought I made it. But this is it, man. I hired a really expensive publicist right away. I was like, okay, what are we doing? Like, what's my trajectory? I mean, I just thought I was, you know, walking into the next doorway was my multi-million-dollar dynasty, you know, and that is how I woke up that day.
Yep.
And that is not what happened, even a little. Actually, nothing happened because it's just an option. And an option is not a thing that will be made. An option is a choice in a drawer somewhere just in case they run out of their best ideas, you know? And Jerry Bruckheimer did not run out of his best ideas. So
he has so many ideas. Come on, Jerry. Come on.
It didn't get taken out of the drawer and it expired. And it hasn't been reoptioned. And I've spent a lot of money on that publicist for nothing. So it was a really good, hard way to learn what an option really was and what would and wouldn't change. But you know, it's exciting. It gave me the chance to work with my book publisher. So to back up, the way this happened is I self-published this book, and within probably 3 months, I had the publisher contacted me. The editor had read my book, you know, on an airplane somewhere and loved it, and they were acquiring material. And the publisher was Warner Brothers. And I didn't believe that they were real at first. And so I almost was like, this is a scam. I'm not going to respond to this. But I Googled them, luckily, and I found out they were real. And so they bought the book series and republished it, under their umbrella and stuff. And then they were doing it because they were trying to acquire stuff that they could option. So I had a publishing team that was amazing. Like, I had great editors and I learned so much, and I'm so glad I did it. And they loved the series and they really wanted it to be made, and they really championed it. And that was really cool. So I had such a great experience in those ways. But here we are. It'll happen someday.
Your success is inevitable.
My success is inevitable. So it's fine.
Love it. And thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
All right.
And do I have a question for you?
You do.
We're doing these. We're not changing them, are we?
We're going to keep these going. Yeah.
Okay. There is a relationship building part to big things like film options, but why are so many authors opposed to the concept of networking?
So I like actually saying relationship building instead of networking. I just wanted to make sure people knew what I was talking about here, because it's like people really don't like having to go out of their comfort zone generally.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to other humans, especially when we are authors and can stay by our computer. But so often it is about people you know. It is. And it's one of those super frustrating parts of any entertainment thing, any life thing. It's about who you know, it's about nepotism, it's about whatever.
Yeah.
And if you meet someone who then connects you with someone, you are suddenly in a different place. Like, you have now a resource that you didn't have before. And I don't think networking is everything, but I think resources are a huge part of success.
Yeah.
Even just think about coaching. So an author coaches with me, or they coach with you. They now have a resource. They now have someone that they don't just have to run things by themselves and their dog and their spouse. They get to run things by someone who has worked with lots of other people and can now help them. If they end up getting an agent, or they end up getting someone, now they have a resource, someone who's connected with other authors, someone who maybe can help negotiate things for them. Yeah. If they meet someone who knows someone who does connect them with Warner Brothers or whoever, it's like now they have a resource. And so it is easier to succeed when you have more resources, whether that's money or people or just an in somewhere. And so my whole thing about networking is, I know it's hard as an introvert to make connections with people, but it is also hard to succeed without resources. So you kind of have to choose your hard.
Yeah, that's really good. And also, I was thinking maybe it's also hard because it's hard to quantify networking or measure its worth like you can with money. Like, you can't predict how knowing this person is going to, or introducing yourself to this person, you can't measure that in dollars per se. So maybe it's just harder to wrap your brain around, but it is just as powerful.
I do have a lot of people ask me quantifiable questions like, well, when will I know if my ads are working? And I'm like, when it's profitable?
Well, now you can start to say, well, what do you believe this outcome is going to be?
I like that.
Turn the question back on them.
No, that's very good. So, Heather, how does one, this is a 2-hour answer here in the lightning round.
Oh, no, I think I know what you're going to say, and I think I have a quick answer.
Okay, I'm excited. How does one train their subconscious for success?
My favorite tool is meditation and hypno to train your brain. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Answer. Follow-up question. I know there's a lot of meditation resources out there, lots of apps, lots of things. Do you have a hypno resource that you tend to recommend?
I have a couple favorites from others, but I also do have one that I put together that's on my website, and it's
Oh,
called the
nice.
Health, Wealth, and Happiness Hypno. So you get 3 in this little bundle, and it covers like every area of your life. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and it's so great because I love things that feel like not a lot of work. And I can just put in a hypno for 20 minutes and then just lay there or something, and it's doing work. It really is reprogramming my thoughts and my beliefs. So I just love them.
Yeah, I've done these they're old school, these paraliminals, which are very like in the same vein. They're
Yeah,
like from one of those old, like they probably used to be on CDs or
right,
tapes or whatnot.
right.
And like I still get really big letters from them. They're giant. And I'm like, this is geared towards people in their 80s. Um, but like I love that kind of stuff because like you said, it's just it feels like less work.
It
I'm
does.
like I'm doing the dishes and I'm
Right,
learning.
right. And it's right. So when you can multitask the habit into place, also, we're more likely to do it because we do kind of come back to that whole like, I don't have time. And we won't like change our schedule up to install this new thing. So if you just do this thing while you're already doing something you were going to do to begin with, like the dishes or brushing your teeth or whatever, you're way more likely to actually follow through on the habit.
Right. Yeah, I mean eh, I'm a big fan of Atomic Habits. I know some people are just like this book is a lot of work, um but when you stitch one of the suggestions from James Clear in that book is when you stitch one thing with an existing habit like doing the dishes, it just makes life easier.
It really does. Actually, I still haven't read that book, and everyone keeps telling me that, yeah, the tip I just gave was from that book, and I'm like, I didn't know. I didn't know. So I guess on this, me and the author agree.
He stole it from you.
That's
No.
right.
So, Heather, what are some of the ways that, or no, you're asking me this one.
I'm asking you. I've got a question
Whoops,
for you.
record scratch.
And actually, I really do want to know the answer to this from you.
Okay,
So,
cool.
what are some of the ways you've incorporated manifestation into your daily life?
So I've talked about on the show that I'm definitely a little bit woo woo. I've read a lot of books on the subject. I've read The Secret. I've read Abraham Hicks stuff. I've read Power of Consistency, Weldon Long. I've read a lot of great books about manifestation, and I think for me, because I've tried a lot of different things. I did a vision board a couple times, and like
Yeah.
I've done like I've had an app that I was kind of into, and I think for me, because I'm a high communicator, as far as like Clifton strengths, talking things out is
Hmm.
still one of the easiest ways for me to just like saying affirmations, talking things out, hearing myself saying them is just one of the best, I think one of the best things for me. And then I have to take action before I get too chicken about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if I'm on a call, I'll email the person that they say I should email. If I'm talking to someone that says, oh, you should do this, I'm like, give me 2 seconds.
Yes,
I got to
I
do it
love
now.
this
And
because
I've
you've
been
done it
trained for this. Yeah.
before you even have a chance to come up with your doubts or anything. You just do it. That's so powerful.
Yeah. And I have a coach, Jada Selner, who taught me to do this, and it's made a huge difference for me.
Yeah,
So
that's a
those are
great
some of
one.
the ways I use it.
I love it.
Yeah, so I'm woo woo too.
I know. I'm
Um,
really excited to hear that.
yay. Last question of the lightning round. How can we reframe perfectionism as an opportunity for self-compassion?
Well, perfectionism is literally an opportunity or an invitation for compassion because perfectionism is the idea most often. It can
Mhm.
maybe it's looking
Mhm.
different in someone, but most often perfectionism is the idea that we don't think we're good enough, worthy or deserving, and we're trying to be good enough, like we could earn it. And most often it comes from some kind of past or childhood experience where we weren't or we didn't feel unconditionally accepted or loved. And it was all based on, our achievements or our efforts or our behavior. And so we just kind of got conditioned and programmed to use that to get validation, acceptance, and love. So the idea that you might decide to love yourself or accept yourself, regardless of the fact that you're not perfect, will literally heal that block for you, because it's not about getting that acceptance and love from that other person in your past who never gave it to you. Good thing, right? Because they're never going to do it, right? So
right.
It's a good thing that that's not what we need in order to move past it. What we need is to give it to ourselves. So if you can give it to yourself, you will actually release and transform that perfectionism habit, especially in the way that it holds us back. It's nice to want to do your best, but that's not really what we're talking about here.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that. If any of us have the opportunity to heal something, these deep wounds from way back when, we do it, which is scary. I think the healing is scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, we think we're going to have to confront things that we don't want to confront, right? I mean, your subconscious is built to protect you. And one of the ways it does that is to avoid. You are wired biologically to want to avoid uncomfortable things. And so the whole, this feels scary, let me not look at it. That's how you're wired. That's biology. That's not like a toxic trait or anything like that,
Right.
But trying to override it deliberately, that's not easy, because it's a kind of an ingrained system.
Yeah. I was just thinking about my subconscious being oh, and
right?
dodge. Yeah.
Well, so that's why I like the hypnos, because I always give this example that because the hypno is going directly into your subconscious mind, which is actually where change needs to happen. That's where your identity lives. That's where all your beliefs about yourself live. And in front of it, sort of the gatekeeper, is your conscious mind. That's all the thoughts you're consciously having right now, or that you might react and have to the idea of doing self-work. But I always give this example that it's your subconscious is like a bouncer, and you have a fake ID, and you're trying to get in the club with a fake ID. And the bouncer, your conscious brain, can spot a fake ID from a mile away. So you have to sneak in the back. That's the only way you're going to get in. And doing hypnos and doing subliminal audios, we do those in coaching as well. Those are all designed to slip in the back door and go into your subconscious mind, bypassing the bouncer, so that it installs more quickly.
I love that. I've only snuck into places a couple of times in my life, but I catch your drift on that.
Yeah.
We need to come up with a question of the week, Heather. We've talked about a lot of different things, trends and excitement and film expectations and subconscious. We've gone all over. What do you want to ask our listeners for today?
Let's see. How about, if your success was inevitable, what would you do differently?
I love this. If your success was inevitable, what would you do differently? Great question. You can answer the question of the week, folks, over at sellmorebookshow.com or the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. This has been a lot of fun, Heather.
Yes.
We've gotten to talk about all sorts of great stuff.
We did.
So
we went a lot of places.
Yeah. Where can people go find your wonderful author coaching resources?
Yes. So all the info is on my website at manifestyourhea.com. And we've got links to just different events that we have coming up. I run a mastermind. There is coaching available, not necessarily from me right now. I'm very full, but there are ways to connect with me there, so you can look everything up on the website.
Awesome. Love that. Well, it has been such a blast. I love getting to ring in the new year with someone like you who can really get everybody thinking, get everybody hopefully moving to a really nice place in 2025.
Yes, my favorite holiday, so thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, folks, we're still here. We're still doing the show. Sell More Book Show. Remember, if you haven't reviewed us in a while, or you haven't ever reviewed us, feel free, go and do that on your favorite podcast provider. We'll have another wonderful guest co-host next week. I'm really excited for all the wonderful people we have lined up for 2025. So, for Heather, I'm Bryan. Have a great week of book selling, everybody. And we'll talk to you next week for episode 561. Bye.
Bye.